Hi, Blastpop here. Today I'm looking at Field Commander Napoleon by Dan Verson Games. This is a solitaire strategy game, as they describe it, and it's rather unique in that it includes so much in the box in terms of a solitaire game, the number of pieces, and the boards are all mounted. It's quite the package. Now, in order to hold all this stuff, you have to have almost like an SPI detergent sized game box. Now, if you remember that, a lot of the older SPI games, once they went to the box format for their large game series, went to this 4-inch box, and it was about the size of a detergent box. So consequently, they call them the detergent box games. This looks nearly the same size, although width-wise might be a little narrower than the SPI games. It's got a nice period painting of Napoleon that most of you have seen before. Nice box, should hold all your components and all your counters and counter trays with room to spare, I would think, because it is such a big box. Good job, Dan Verson Games, on providing a box that meets the gamer's needs. Also included is the rules book, and that weighs in with ads and cover and illustrations at 24 pages. Not bad. You have your cover here. Introduction. You got campaigns. A whole series of campaigns. And each board has all the information you need to play the game. How to set it up, all the special rules, the number of turns. It's very self-contained. And there are approximately 11 by 17-inch maps. And even with all the game components, you can play the game in a fairly compact area, dare I say, a small kitchen table. So you got 7 maps, some of which the maps are used for more than one campaign, as I will detail a little bit later. You have a battlefield sheet and a help sheet. And then you have here your compendium and or explanation of all your various forces that are included in the game, the counters and so on and so forth. There's a boatload of counters in this game. There must be at least 600 or 700 counters, and they're not small counters either. They're the larger and longer counters for the most part. You have your rules for your setup. You play the French player in each of these campaigns. The allies are played by the game system or the game itself, and so you start off with your sequence of play. You start off with France. You advance the turn counter. You move. You resolve battles. Force march. Resolve battles. French resupply. Enemy then does enemy orders. Resolves battles. And enemy resupply. And you do that for a number of turns based on the particular campaign that you happen to be fighting. And you have a sequence of play for each battle. And includes Fog of War, where you determine the specials events that occur in the battle that you can't plan for per se. You just hope you're prepared. And there's a whole sequence for that. You have a battlefield sheet to actually execute the battle. You place your forces, you place your enemy mobile forces. And here you have a battle overview. You have orders. The enemy has orders. Otherwise known as battle plans. You do the battle plan activation, advance and retreat, shock, melee combat, cannons and fortifications, attack bonuses, your battle plan counters. Now this is an area that would be nice to have something available, not in the rule book, but as a handy dandy reference sheet included in the box. Now, I mean, it's perfectly serviceable and there's nothing wrong with it. But so far, that's the kind of one thing that have a minor gripe at best. It's minor. That it would be nice to have a sheet that had all the information contained. Now, the information on the counters themselves does give you some information, so I suppose if you do have a question, you can always look up the rules. Now, Board Game Geek may have an add-on sheet or something that an industrious player might have created. Otherwise, you can make a copy of the rules book portion that has this information. Then you resolve your enemy battle plans, French battle plans, you check for route, you advance turn counter, and the end of the battle occurs after a period of turns determined in the fog of war chart that I showed earlier. Then you have your post-battle resupply, you have an enemy turn, which I mentioned before. And as the player, you can buy forces, you can buy scouts. So the way this looks to be is that it's a very solitary replayable. You can play the campaigns multiple times, and probably get some fairly interesting different results. Then it goes on to tell you about solitaire decisions, what you should do, linking your campaigns. And then they have a 2-page, excuse me, extended example of play, showing a campaign, and then the battles and how they're resolved, and adding some value to the rules, and that if you have a question and the rules don't quite solve it for you, chances are, based on what other games I've seen that Dan Verson games have done, nicely cover almost all the important little details that you're likely to have questions on. And then, of course, your obligatory ad for more of their fine games. You have here Campaign Napoleon, campaign information if you decide to play a campaign, or just like to record how a particular campaign went for posterity when you want to look back at this sometime down the road. Additionally, on a plasticized sort of sheet, 8.5 by 11, you have your battle map, and tells you what French reserve, French approach, French front. So you set up your forces and you engage in battle, and you have your places here for your battle plans. One-sided. Additionally, you have the fog of war chart. So you roll the die and you have modifiers based on the enemy supply points and so on. It tells you the length of the battle in turns, and along with any event that's special. And then you have your scouts that you're employing. Keeps track of the battle turns. Shows you what a formation line versus column for a battle. And again, another one-sided table. Now, this is where the game starts getting impressive. You have 6 counter sheets with a boatload of counters, and they've got a nice thick feel to them. They're the thick white core, and I'm very preferential to the white core, and if they're thick, that's even better. The white core to me looks neater and cleaner than the brown core that's thick that so many people as of late seem to like. Going back to the old days when I started my wargaming, everything was brown core and it didn't look so nice. So when I went to initially at that point to the white core, it was a great thing. So I guess what's old is new again, and so on. So anyway, this tells you here on here what year, what campaign that particular force is available. The purchase price, whether it's poor troops, veterans, and so on and so forth. And on the back, you have the damaged or moved side on the back. Continuing on to sheet 2. Please pause if you'd like to take a little bit longer and examine the counters. Very nicely done. You got a slick plastic coating to them, which I kind of like. Although I could imagine that in an imperfect light, the reflections could be an issue. But I definitely like the style and presentation here. First rate. Sheet 4 coming up here. In the back. Sheet 5. And then finally, the sheet that's a little bit different, sheet 6, has your battle plans and insights and scouts and such, and a few other additional odds and ends, as well as fortifications and some artillery, that kind of thing. The counters are starting to pop out, so the die cutting appears to be very nicely done as well. This is getting to the table soon. Alright, now here's the example of a campaign map. Mounted board, nicely done, reasonably heavy. The wind's not going to blow the map around unless you have a hurricane. So here you have two campaigns. You have the 1796 and 1800 campaigns in northern Italy. And then you have turn tracks down here. Look that up a little bit. For both campaigns, you got the 1796 campaign turn track and then the 1800 turn track. And then you have enemy orders. And here you have your setup and special rules, resupply sequence, so putting everything nice and handy. So if you got this one map, the map for the battle map, and the reference map, as I alluded to earlier, the play area is going to be compact. Very nice. This one's the 1798 Suez campaign in Egypt. And again, it all follows a similar format. And your setup and special rules. This one's the 1805 and 1809 campaigns. Be sure to pause if you want to look a little longer. Not everybody's interested in everything. This one has the 1806 and 1813 campaigns. Again, compact area. Everything you need to have is right there to set the game up. No special rules book for all the little campaigns. The 1807 campaign in Spain. The 1812 campaign in Russia. This looks rather interesting. This one could be to my taste. I always enjoyed the Napoleon's Russian campaign. And then finally, we have the 1814 and 1815 campaigns in eastern France. Very nicely done. So you do get a boatload of items, and also a D10 as well. A boatload of items, counters, maps, and a box. This has been Blastpop. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Bye.